We're going to talk about what has happened in Ukraine on this day of the Russian invasion. We'll examine the actions and the strategies, both military and political. Now, if this is your first time watching, my name is Darren Gertis. I'm a professor who's built multiple leadership programs at Charleston Southern University. So we'll also view these events through the lens of leadership. And I also wrote a book about Zelensky called I Need Ammunition, Not a Ride, and you can find it on Amazon. Okay, it is day 100. It has been 100 days since the invasion on February 24th, 2022. The war has now cost the Ukraine more than a third of its gross domestic product. So that's just unimaginable, like what the war has just cost. And that's not even reflecting the damage. The damage is like 3 years worth of like if you think about 3 years of your annual salary, that's what it would cost you to put your house back in place after your house has been destroyed. That's the damage, let alone the actual cost of the war itself. Okay, Russians claim to have captured Severodonetsk. According to the Ukrainian general staff, Ukrainians continue to fight. Now, if Severodonetsk falls, Ukrainians have this backup. They will retreat across the Seversky Donetsk River to their sister city, which is right across the way. It's called Lysychansk. Now, Lysychansk is actually a good place because there's a river as a barrier. You can blow the bridge, and then they're on high ground. But later on, when you try to recapture it, it's going to be extra bloody. So you want to try to avoid that if you can. At this point, about 60% of the infrastructure in Lysychansk has been destroyed, or 90% or more has been destroyed in Severodonetsk. And that's just the way that the Russians fight this war. They just bomb the tar out of the city, in no regard to whether they're shelling civilian or military posts. They're not interested in that at all. Russians control over 90% of Luhansk. Now, before this, they only had like maybe half of Luhansk. I'm not being accurate here. I'm just saying it's a fairly narrow slice before. Now they control almost all of it. Russian forces have also generated a great deal of momentum in the last day, and Ukrainians were having some success. Like they're not having success in Severodonetsk, but just outside Popasna, which is to the south, they're trying to create this like pincer, like to like bring together from both the north. Izum and Lyman, and come down and in from the bottom from Papanza, Popasna. And if they can do that, they can encircle, and that would be very, very bad. Okay, now in other parts of the country, in occupied Donetsk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson Oblast, internet access and mobile connections have been limited or turned off and turned on in some places with only Russian access. And so that's kind of, this is just part of the um, process of Russifying the region. You turn off the internet access. You don't let them have access to the outside world, and then eventually, when you turn it back on, you turn it on with only access that the Russians have. The pro-Russian officials in Zaporizhia issued a decree to nationalize Ukrainian assets, and that's just taking their stuff, and they're legally doing that. So okay, there was some good news. I mean, that was a lot of bad news for day 100. There was some good news. The European Union officially approved its sixth package of sanctions. Now, it was a long time since the fifth package of sanctions, but they officially approved this, and this is going to limit Russian oil. And why do they want to limit the sale of Russian oil? Because the Russian federal government depends, about a third of its government finances depend on the sale of energy. So this is potentially a big thing. Why they didn't do this earlier, I have no idea, but that's what's going on. It also banned the broadcasting of a number of Russian television stations. I think that's a bad thing. I watch RT. I watch I read articles on TASS, and I watch RT, and I couldn't get RT like on normal channels. Like it was taken off of Roku in the United States, and I have to go through what is it, Rumble, to subscribe to RT that way. But I watch it so that I can understand their perspective. I'm not worried about the propaganda. I want to understand what they actually see about this, because it's like bizarro world. You're seeing one thing in one thing, from Western media, and then you see RT, and you're like, really? Is that, I mean, that's not that's not how it went at all. And so I think that's actually a bad thing to have banned those channels, but that's what's happened. Okay, echoing the now famous video, and I thought this was great. Zelensky, gives a speech where, so on day two, he's talking about like, hey, there's a lot of fakes out there, and I'm here in Kiev. I haven't left. I'm not a traitor. And the president's here, the prime minister or president's chief of staff is here, the prime minister's here. I'm here. We've not left, right? And so that was really a shot in the arm because had Zelensky fled, had he fled to Paris, and the United States gave them this, hey, do you want out of the country? We will get you safely out of the country. That's where he famously said, the title of my book, I need ammunition, not a ride. And so he famously said that statement, and then he shot this video where he said, "I'm here, and the prime minister, and so and so." Well, on this 100th day, he said, "The leaders of parliamentary factions are here. The president and chief of staff is here. The prime minister of Ukraine, Shamil, is here. Polyak." Polyak is here. I can't pronounce these names. I'm sorry. The president is here. The armed forces of Ukraine are here. Most importantly, our people are here. The people of our country are here. We have been defending. And then he added this last line, which was the rest was kind of a repeat of what he said before. We have been defending Ukraine for 100 days. Victory shall be ours. And so it was good for him to lay it out like that. And after, I mean, that was quite a speech for him to say that. This just stiffened the spine of those that were wondering, oh, what do I do? Do I flee? Do I fight? What should I do? And they're looking to the leader for direction, and they found it. In his evening address, he talked about exactly 100 days ago, and I'm quoting now, and it doesn't really translate into English, but he said exactly 100 days ago, we all woke up in a different reality. Exactly 100 days ago, different us woke up. I mean, so it doesn't quite translate, but I'm sure it makes greater sense in Ukrainian. And then he talked about 100 words that are new since the invasion began. I am fascinated by Zelensky, by his fortitude in staying, but by his speeches, his wordsmithing, his media background has really been a huge asset to his ability to be the commander in chief, marshaling the world's sympathy and weapons and goodwill and that kind of thing. So he talks about 100 words that were new since the invasion began, and he said Russia came to them with one word: war. And he said he cataloged a number of words that have become popular or common in our lexicon since. And he started with our heroes. And then he talked about Ukrainian words like stugna and Cossack. And he spoke of foreign words such as Bayraktar, that's the drone from Turkey, Bayraktar, HIMARS, which is the rocket system from the United States, Starlink, which was the satellite internet that Elon Musk provided in the first few days. And he spoke of hard words such as Bucha, which was a terrible massacre, a place of just terrible atrocities, and Mariupol, where the Azov fighters held out for 80 days. And he said this, and every time we hear them, we know they give us the time and opportunity to live as long as we are given by God, not by the enemy. God, this word, this appeal has been heard more than once, and always in a special way. Like the guy's just got a great way with words. He's been masterful at communicating. Like communication, it comes down to this: what I intend to say, the words I use, and what you hear. And he's had no static between what he is intending to say and communicate through his words, so that people on the receiving end can listen and hear and receive and align themselves with him. So he communicated. He concluded with this. He concluded with the words: reconstruction, candidacy, and membership, guarantees and security, and then finally the words return and liberation. And wow, what a great speech that was. Um, Now, on the other side of that, the Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman, Maria Zakharova, said that Germany was undermining European security by remilitarizing. Yeah, well, what do you expect? I mean, Germany has to defend itself too, recognizing that there's a legitimate threat, and there was no hint of irony here, no hint of any recognition that maybe they're doing this because of Russia's invasion. It was just saying, well, Germany's doing this, and it's going to be terrible. Yeah, it could be terrible. Japan's rearming, thinking about Taiwan, and so yeah. Okay, that's all that we have for day 100. There was a lot of events. Stay tuned for day 101. I'll be back tomorrow. Hey, if this video was helpful, hit like to help others find it in YouTube's algorithm. Subscribe so that you can stay informed. And one more thing, if you are moved to contribute to the humanitarian aid for Ukraine, I have a link below for Samaritan's Purse. If you want to give, be sure to give only to reputable organizations. There's a lot of scammers out there. Thanks for your time.